duty shall give in to
when I'm ready, and not before.
Alright, so POE1, I did a dumb build concept again, and it turns out that it is working. So, this is a simple body swap build in the, what I'm calling it, Mutant League. It's got about a month left or more, should be about. So plenty of time for people to see this video. If they want to try it, and see if they want to play a different build style. It works technically. So basically with how it works is it uses body swap. Speedy go fast. So basically you deal damage and then 8% of your maximum life, or 4% if you don't have it qualityed. And it's based as fire damage. So you're doing fire damage is what it is. And yeah, if you target corpses, you do basically 8% of that corpse's maximum life, which is good for, you know, doing mapping. And you get more area effects when you're consuming a corpse. So technically, when you're doing this, you're consuming a corpse. So remember that in the future for when we're doing possible alterations. So of course we have increased cast speed, and then what is it? We don't give a shit about critical chance because you have to invest a little bit too much in order to get it. But so the raw moored spell damage is better than the crit chance. So, or at least in my opinion, this is all my opinion on how the build works. We're going to run through this single rambling and kind of just go, as you saw in the video, hopefully if I edit this correctly, showing how it did before. So, continuing with more area damage. So you want things that say more damage if you don't know how PoE works, or you're not too familiar. The wording is specific when it comes to adding on or increasing damage. So how this one says more spell damage and then increased spell damage. More spell damage is a higher multiplier in the string of calculating damage. You can look it up online. You can see the actual like breakdown of how it is, but more multiplies the base damage number first, and then increased spell damage comes after a lot of the calculations, from what I remember, or the other way around. It's basically, what if it says more damage, it's better. If it says increased damage, it's not as good, but it's still good. So we're having another more multiplier on elemental damage, since this is doing fire damage, and then fire penetration with increased damage. So we're getting past any sort of resistances, because that'll be the biggest hindrance to us right now. So here are the stats. I'm only level 84. I know I'm a bit of a scrub, and I'm strength stacking as a witch. Which I'm pretty sure is not unheard of, and the damage isn't too great compared to probably what other classes can do, but who cares? This is fun. If I'm not pushing high tier maps, that's fine. I'm just trying to get through this pass thing. That's all I'm really trying to do. And if I run into issues, then hey, I address it at that point, but this is more of this is a fun build. So we have damage combined total. I just added, like, you know, little dashes of additional damage where it needs to be. I didn't choose to convert it all into fire because it was doing less damage. You can see the numbers for yourself later. So besides body swap, the key things to making this work is this specific league. But this can also be done outside of the specific league, but it won't be doing as much damage. You'd have to find other ways to address it, unless they add items that do these ascendancies. So basically, the main thing is Sanguine Power, which removes all energy shield. Maximum life is instead, we gain maximum life instead of maximum energy shield from equipped armor items, specifically equipped armor items. And we lose 3 life per level, but whatever. The benefits outweigh the hindrance when it comes to this. And where it says equipped armor items is very specific, because if we have nodes like this one where it says, oh, maximum life regeneration, we don't do mana, and I'll explain that in a minute. But specifically this one, right? So 5 maximum energy shield and increased maximum life. You'd think, oh, that means I'm just getting 8% maximum life, when that doesn't work, because it doesn't apply to the base, the equipped armors, which sucks, but that's how it is. So either way, there's ways that we can pump this up, just based off of finding good equipment and stuff, right? And I'll explain basically how to think of it when you're buying equipment and things like that. Other than that, I'm only 3 ascendancies. I don't think I need to get a 4th, because if I were to get the 4th, I would just increase the effectiveness of curses, and I'll explain that in a second. Vile imprecations is nearby enemies have malediction, 30% increased reservation efficiency of curses and auras. The efficiency is basically what we're taking this for, so we're not getting like super hard, like, you know, shot in the foot with that. So I also took this because basically Path of Builders, this is a higher thing. I didn't really read it. Skills gain a base cost if equal to 25% in base mana cost, which is fine. Spells you cast yourself gain additional physical damage equal to 80% of the life total cost. Life cost is not equal to the higher than the maximum you could be sending, whatever. So it's just more damage, more physical damage, which is fine. Let me finish before we get into the tree of what we're doing. So we have flammability, which does the fire resistances, and it gives us more area of effect. No, wait, it doesn't. It does, whatever. More fire resistance, so when we go around to a huge crowd of enemies, we're going to be around them. Pretty good idea. We can increase the area of effect, but I fucked with these boots to test some things, and so it's not that big of a deal. You're going to be pretty much one-shotting a lot of ads anyways, and when you get to a boss, you're already going to be in its face, so it's the area effect is not going to really matter that much, because you're going to be moving too fast. So as you saw in the video, hopefully before testing it, you're going to be moving too fast for the curse to really apply quick enough. It's only meant for like bosses and harder tough enemies, right? So we have blasphemy for support, which adds this as an aura, so it's a field aura around us, and then flammability specifically because it just is better for fire pretty much. There is the other one, which is all elements, but it's up to you if you want to use that one, or you technically could use both if you're comfortable with reserving more mana, reserving more life, but you'll understand why that could be an issue down the road. So Eternal Blessing makes this cost nothing to us, so that is also an important thing, but it only applies to one as far as I know. Non-blessings reserve mana disabled while you have aura. Yeah, it can only have one aura on the blessing, which this makes it count as one aura as auras. Yeah, it's specifying that's multiple. Possibly. I could check this real quick, so give me a second. Okay, yeah, so you can only have one at a time, but that's still fine. It's up to you if you want to level it up. Either way, yeah, the quality doesn't really matter on these two. If there is a better curse, then you could totally go with that, or if there's a better solution for the Eternal Blessing, you could also go with that. I did test it with Anger. Anger did not show as well of a damage increase as opposed to flammability, just because you're bypassing the, you know, the resistance, and having Anger be there, yes, technically, but you'd be reserving way more life, and you'd have to invest more skill points into making the life's cost less, pretty much, right? So other than that, we have Flame Dash for mobility. We have increased area effect. I think I just have this on here to level it up on the side, or no, we can do this actually now. There you go. We have haste because we need to, 1, hit low life, and 2, it gives us casting speed, so we're speedy go zoom, and I don't like moving slow in this game. So that we have a summon golem, which gives specifically the lightning benefit, which gives us more cast speed. It's fine if we take it off. It doesn't really affect much, but it's to push that last little bit of cast speed, breakpoint for casting time. So it hits when it hits, especially when we have stuff like onslaught. So Next up is the Vitality. Vitality is very important to have. It barely reserves any life for us, really. So just keep cranking it up. You don't want the quality because it doesn't matter. But Arrogant Support, which increases aura effect, and yeah, so increases aura effect. If we see here, I'm generating 1,555 life per second, which is very good considering it's basically half of our life, but the regenerative life rate could be better. I could find solutions to that. It could just take skill gems, or not skill gems, but I could just take what do you call it, jewels or something like that, but who knows. I didn't look into it too much because it still feels fine for now. But if we take off the Arrogant Support, it drops down by, oh, that's not that much. Interesting. Okay, then as I saw, it's either you have 50 more life, or we could kill ourselves with haste, I guess, because that's not working. One thing that could be done is, if you really want to cast faster, right, and you don't give a shit about, or you don't care about pain attunement, which is very important, because it allows multiple things when we're on low life. You could put haste on Arrogant Support and then have Blessing Support on it as well. But that's only if you're really struggling to hit attack speed and you'd rather have attack speed versus, you know, life or low life or something. You could also hit low life with flammability and another curse. I can double check to see if it's more efficient to do it that way, but also with Arrogant Support, you're not really netting all that much cast speed for it when it comes to increasing it by 22%. So one thing you could do with an aura effect is possibly put it onto the fire resistance, or you could put it onto anger to make anger a little bit better, but it's kind of, this is literally just to add a tiny bit more effect to an already good aura for yourself. So whether it's cast speed, which is barely any percentages increase, to be noteworthy, but I think Vitality is the better option for it, and it doesn't reserve all that much life for us. Anyways, that was a long thing to explain haste because I already explained that. So for our targeted ability, because this is you explode, and if you get stunned or stuck, you're kind of just standing there. That is the biggest drawback, is if you're stunned, you're done. So if you can get a potion that has resist stun or clear stun or anything like that, specifically on your health, so that way you're healing and, you know, clearing the stuns, which I can probably find in the future. But if that's a thing, right, or binding or blinding or whatever, that's the only issue you're going to really fall into, as well as, like, you know, obviously spell reflect or elemental damage reflect, because we're doing so much damage that if we hit ourselves but with 15% of this, we're dead. Like, period. We're just fucking dead. Especially since if it triggers on a corpse that does more damage, and then we hit ourselves with that because we hit an enemy, and it's, yeah. So that's a thing. Avoid maps that have 15% spell reflect, because that, I found out that we just die immediately. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that goes the same for other people. So anyways, we have Firestorm of Meteors. It is the big meteor attack because we want to hit as much. This is for rooms that we don't want to clear. So say that there's stuff here that we see and it's like too much, or you think it's too much for you, you can just, that is the cast speed. That is the benefit of having a cast speed on this class, or this build. So we have that, and to show, we have controlled destruction, so more spell damage just to get out there, and then more fire damage, a little bit increased fire damage, and then igniting. It's just to push damage, really. I think, yeah, that spell, the cast speed really does help, but we technically could take this and put it on, I think we already have controlled destruction on there. Yeah, we do. Okay, so this, if we don't have cast speed, right, if we just go 24 cast speed and you say, oh, that's good, I feel fine enough doing that, I'd rather just do big damage, we could take the combustion support, which is more fire damage. This is just to show as an example. I don't know if there's better gems that we could be putting this, but as you see, it pumps it up even more. So we gain what is it, 30,000 DPS, but we're sacrificing a lot of cast speed. So if we cast slower, then it's kind of like, you know, we're already making that up in, you know, casting speed. So it's kind of like it is what it is. So as far as the items go, I'll get to the passive tree in a second, but I'll get to the passive tree in a second. This is a lot to explain as builds go, because I'm not really good at explaining builds in a short time frame. I'm explaining all the information, that way if somebody has questions or is misunderstanding something, I can hopefully explain it in the best way that I can, which is just telling everything of how it's working. So also the targeted ability technically does do more damage than our body swap, but we're stationary, whereas body swap, as you saw in the beginning of this video, you're moving constantly. So that's also the benefit, is that you're moving to avoid stuff, but you can accidentally hit something and die. So especially since some of the stuff like the little floating orbs count as targets, so you could accidentally lock on, but that's where constantly moving your mouse, like I usually move my mouse in like a figure 8 or just like all over the screen depending on the location of enemies, it kind of gets you to bounce back and forth all over the place. And yeah, so what am I explaining? One thing real quick before going to this, I wanted to touch on this because it was kind of important for me to figure out. So devouring, technically the extra damage from the bodies are consuming the corpses, which early levels this would be very nice. So if you get devour support once you first get body swap, and you're going to only use body swap for the whole campaign, and you're going to use this guide as a starting point and like get to this point kind of thing, devour support is good because it's making up for that, you know, life regen that we don't have. But at later levels, you're eventually going to want to stop taking this, because we need the corpses to, one, bounce around more if things are getting more hectic, and then we need the corpses to do more damage in a wider area effect. Like if you saw in the video, you saw that I was bouncing back and forth between corpses on rare targets that were just being a little bit more difficult to take down, and I was still able to hit them bouncing back and forth while avoiding damage or avoiding melee hits and stuff like that. So devouring support is decent, but eventually you're going to outgrow it pretty much. And you'll make up for it in, you know, like life regen, honestly. So flasks, I chose armor because we need damage mitigation. So with that, it helps us out tremendously, and avoid chances of void being frozen. Shield is kind of just good. Onslaught with increased duration specifically, and then increased armor duration. So increased armor during the effect. So basically you're hitting all three of these. Is what I do is I hit all three of them when I'm going into like large clumps of packs and just piano keying it. But I'm not like rapidly pressing keys with this build. I'm literally, as you in the video, I was just holding down right mouse click and every once in a while pressing all three of these. This is a very low effort input build, and that's the intent of what I built it for. So onslaught, we have cast time of 0.21, and we have this. So onslaught increases it by 20%. We're at 250 and are at 19 with our little buddy out. So it could be better. Technically, there are pieces that you could sub in if you would prefer them. But to continue on, increased damage, because of course increasing damage is good, and increasing armor is probably good because we want the damage mitigation when we're bouncing around. There's probably better flask effects, but I just found more armor to be nicer, because we want to, if we do get hit, we want to mitigate as much as possible, because this is also our casting pool and stuff. So we're going to be like we're going to be reducing the amount that we regen. So we're trying to outlive a lot of things, right? And reduce as much damage as possible. So if I hit this, it goes up pretty decently. Not much, but it's better than nothing. There probably is a better alternative for this, but I haven't really looked up flasks yet too much. I kind of just took these. I was like, oh, these are good, these work, and I just rolled with them, and so far so good. from there, health, just standard health, immune to chill freeze, so I could probably change this, but I don't really hit the life flask all that much until I just see this go halfway and then I hit it just to be safe. Or if it's a huge clump of enemies, I hit it every once in a while, not too much, but that's only because I've gotten to the point of regenning this much life with this much top end life. So a Quicksilver flask can be anything, honestly. It's just nice for movement, just to get through maps when you like run out of bodies to target and like jump onto. So Quicksilver is kind of one of those flasks. You could sub it in for elemental resistances, depending. But even with my low resistances, I'm fine, honestly. I haven't really died too much unless it's to literally a ground effect that I didn't see that I bounced onto, which is fine. You just go back into the portal. That's the good thing about POE1 right now. So now to equipment and what kind of priority of equipment. So we have all three of these. We have single target, we have main attack, which I can't do as targeting, which is body swap. Now, equipment. So main pieces that you want to do is anything with energy shield, but there's different ways that you could do this, right? I found the best option for body armor is the sacrificial garb, because we don't care about the valid skill gems thing, but specifically the one with energy shield, because this seemed to have the highest potential energy shield with the most benefits, right? So increased energy shield again. We have 716 energy shield, and then it gives us 21 to all resistances, which is very good. But also we gain life and mana per enemy killed. We don't care, but we gain 100 life per enemy killed. That doesn't matter too much near the end game, where to us right now, because we have so much life, but because we're killing so often, so many in such a wide range, that it does help out a bit. It's basically the life regen on top of the life regen, so it just helps. It's a little bit helping. But specifically with our conversion of energy shield, we have basically, this gives us 716 life, which is very good. So if I take this off, we go down tremendously. But also I think that's doing other things as far as like our life and shit like that. Yeah. Other equipment is, I found a crown of thorns to be very effective. This is a pretty good high-end energy shield item. I happened to pick it up on a decent roll, pretty much max rolled, I believe. So with energy is 278 life, pretty much is the way you can think about it. I'm pretty sure it is different because it feels like it's taking away more than that much, but it could be because we have other things affecting how much our maximum energy shield is being affected by our equipment. Like this, plus 18 to maximum energy shield, or something of the likes. I don't know. I would have to look into it to really see. But for now, think of it just as 278 life when you're buying equipment. So this also gives us reflects physical 5 damage to attackers, which is whatever. We don't care about the extra physical damage from hits. But pain attunement specifically is very important, because when we're at low life, we get 30% more spell damage, which is huge. Now, the other thing that I saw that I picked up when doing my testing video was this helmet, which was, oh, it's really good energy shield. It gives us fire resistance and we scorch enemies, but it increases elemental damage. So it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. But if you have no alternative for the level, it's fine. I'll do kind of like leveling gear as you're going on how you're going to bounce to gear to gear to gear, just to scale up as maximum as you can. But that's pretty much the two main unique pieces that I found to be effective. If there's others that I don't know about, then I just don't know, because I don't play POE1. This is the first time really, but I'm enjoying it as a POE2 player, and then coming back to POE1, this is great. So wands are pretty self-explanatory. You want increased fire damage, increased cast speed. Cast speed is very important, but also spell damage. So it's just basically pick the thing with the highest numbers. specifically with fire damage, spell damage, cast speed, and then adding fire damage to spells or adding other damage to spells. We want the base number of the spell to be the highest it can be, so that way it's just more damage, right? So kind of make that decision as you would. You're never going to attack with your base weapon. That's not how this is going to work. As soon as you get body swap, it's just that is what you're doing from there on until you can unlock Firestorm or something. So same with the necklace. Getting strength is important, and I'll explain in a second why. But so yeah, getting strength, any sort of damage boosting, as you saw, and also life. So this belt I found to be really good, like insanely good belt for like 5 exalts. it's kind of weird to think about how cheap everything is in POE1, unless it's just undesirable stats, because it's a weird way to play the game right now, which is body swapping. But then there's Flicker Strike, and when I looked into Flicker Strike, it didn't really work as well as I could figure out, and I didn't want to look up a build guide. This is all me figuring this out, right? So there you go. So this increases strength and then plus maximum to energy shield, which means it's just plus 39 life, and then of course 168 maximum life, and then regenerate 150 life per second. Huge. But that's after adding the quality of life and mana modifiers. We don't care about mana, the quality of life modifiers. So without that, we still get 140 life and then 125 life per second. So either way, going for belts like this with resistances and things like that, very good. If it didn't have armor, I would want it to just not have armor, so we can put on a prefix for the belt, or suffix, sorry. Why are these out of order? Because if we go to the crafting bench and look up belts and then look up our suffixes, we could put resistances, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, if it didn't have the armor, which would have been fine, I would put on more resistances. Same thing with the gloves. Gloves can roll maximum life and energy shield with regeneration. So basically pick the biggest number. We don't really give a shit about intelligence, period, because it doesn't add to our health pool as you would think. We just need a high intelligence to be able to cast spells at high levels. Same thing with the boots. Get movement speed. Even though technically we're not relying on moving, we're relying on body swap for movement. When you don't have bodies, it is painfully slow. So you're going to want some movement speed if you can't think of other things to add onto your boot. But main purpose, or the biggest thing, is it's going to be one of your resistance pieces, and then life and mana regeneration. Get the highest numbers. It's pretty simple. So same thing. Yeah, I think I covered all the stuff that you need. Gloves can have more like increased spell damage as a implicit. I had them. They're not bad, but it's kind of like when you're dealing with life, this is just more base damage, which is the life. It's kind of like heads or tails depending on how you want to go. Like this had intelligence, energy shield, whatever. Yeah, these are the other pieces that I was trying out. So okay, so from there we will talk about the passive tree. I am torn with my passive tree because I ended up getting really good large cluster gems. Insanely good large cluster gems for me. So if you don't know, apparently skills, like passive skills on large cluster trees, they stack like on top of each other. So this one came with Prismatic Heart and Widespread. This dropped for me, so I was ecstatic when I was reading this. Increased elemental damage, and we gain regen per whatever. So we have regen, elemental damage, and then 20% increased and more area effect. And then we have our jewel sockets, and then we have elemental resistances and 30% increased elemental damage. Huge, insane skill gem, or insane cluster gem in my opinion. We could go for more and get jewel sockets, but we'd be spreading ourselves thin. That's why I'm torn about my cluster jewels, because they are so good that I'm putting so many points into them to use them. But if you eventually find your own cluster gems that are huge for you with your version of the build or how you're doing it, then It could be better. I probably could find a cluster gem that has life or something like that, but whatever. Then there's this one, which was insane. 12% increased fire damage, 3 to all attributes, 4% chaos resistance, and 2% increased damage, and it has prismatic heart as well, which it does in fact stack. So to show you, I will refund this and the damage goes down. We already have another prismatic heart though, so that's there. We turn this back on, damage goes up. So technically you could make do with that information as you will. I could probably find a way to super like maximize the shit out of it by putting medium clusters into these and then having skills, passive skills in them that, you know, boost even more. Who knows? I don't know if that's possible, but it's something I can look into to really pump it up. But we'd be removing from our tree, right? So to speak on that, you're gonna be starting as a witch, as a bog witch, as I explained. So we're starting here. Basically just get through the campaign, do as much damage as fast as possible. Don't really worry about it too much. First, you're going to be going to this side, probably to get pain attunement and to get cast speed, and that's how your early levels are going to be, to get past that really slow cast rate, right? And then fire damage increased up to here, to more life, to more fire damage, and then eventually you're going to be, you know, redoing your tree at some point when you can start to do that. So leveling up is pretty simple. Do as much damage as fast as possible, get through the campaign. Whatever number makes your casting bigger is going to be good, because you need a lot of points to get to the life sources, which are going to be down here. Pathing down through the scion tree technically is cheaper, but we would be missing out on a lot of benefits we're getting from this cluster right here. So as I go, I will explain. I just saved points from going through here, so I needed 2 points. I can put them into somewhere better, so I just took this route. Through the early game, you're going to want to go through cast speed or more damage, depending on your stats, right? So spell damage, fire damage, and cast speed with fire. Life, because life is very important at 10% max life, huge, and 5 to all resistances. Of course, this is just all fire damage increases, very good, and penetrates. If you want to anoint this, that's fine, but you're missing out on tons of damage from just boosting the thing, because the more life, the more fire damage, the more it's going to increase. So it's kind of stacking in a way. So this is just simply just for cast speed. You can replace these points with, if you get better options, or if you just don't really care, because for me, I'm casting at 21, but if I refund this, 22. So technically for me, I could take these 3 points and invest them somewhere better, like getting one of my jeweled sockets back and then putting a cast speed jewel or more damage jewel or something. So that is an option, or, you know, whatever. So going up, large cluster jewel. So if I didn't have this, I would invest these points into, you know, wherever else could boost us up. I anointed explosive impact just to have it because it's increased fire damage. I'm pretty sure there's a better option, but for now I chose that. And for the price of these is super cheap to get it. So compared to my other choice, which was Whispers of Doom, which is 3 golden oils, we're not doing that. Another option you could do is Undertaker, which if you consume a corpse, you get 30% increased damage, but that's when you consume a corpse recently, which that's 30% increased fire damage with more area effect. So it's kind of weird to think about, but I'm pretty sure there are better options that we could be doing. So in Path of Builder, we can like tweak things, mess around. I haven't really did it too much because I'm just going with what works. So pathing down through here, and we get retribution. So whatever, cast speed, strength, increased damage. And I particularly went here just to get the more dexterity for what do you call it, the speedy speed thing, haste, more cast speed, dexterity. You don't need to really max this out, but going through, so 10% increased life, 5% life, going down, Jesus, and regenerating life. This is just extra damage, extra resistances, very good. I sneezed, I'm gonna cut that down. But we could also take 2 points and put it into increased area effect and increased area damage. That is nice, but it's one of those like you're just pushing damage a little bit when you could be putting it to somewhere else like life, honestly. So coming down, when you're coming down, the first thing you're going to do is run all the way over here and get Iron Will. So strength damage, a bonus applies to all spell damage as well. So we're getting +1 physical melee physical damage. We're getting +1 spell damage with it to all spell damage. So if we take this away, I'll be right back. That's a video editing. So okay, I had to redo that. So with Iron Will, if we turn it off, we can see that our damage, it plummets, not by much, but it's 1 point for Iron Will, and we're already here for the 10% life increased and to get access to the rest of Scion's tree. But that's only if you don't, if I didn't have the large cluster jewels, I would take advantage of the Scion's passive tree by going up through here, getting more area effect or more cast speed, more spell damage and more cast speed. But I'd specifically come through here if to get pain anointment if I didn't have that helmet, right? So that's for solo self found, basically, is what you'd probably want to do. But Iron Will, boom, huge damage. To touch on Iron Will real quick, I did some testing and to let someone know if they're thinking about it. Never mind, I sold it for 2 div. There is a chest piece that says that the bonus from strength is 3% damage increase instead of whatever, but it is basically an armor piece. It helps, but not as much as you would think, because it's not increasing life, you know, as much as the chest piece that we have, which is energy shield. So it's kind of one of those take it or leave it kind of things. I also did testing with this, so the Ivory Tower, which it increases energy shield per 100 reserved life, which that sounds really good, but it does it after the fact. It doesn't apply it to the body armor at all. So that is one thing to consider. This is also pretty good, but not as good as, you know, having a higher piece of energy shield. Early game, or when I was first thinking about it, Spore Guard is what I was using because it increases maximum life and also has pretty decent energy shield, but it kind of it's fun to use to have that, but it's not as good as just this, you know. Also, maximum life converted to energy shield, it doesn't apply to the base piece, so it's not gonna really matter, right? I wish it would apply to evasion, but that doesn't work. There's probably ways that we could be even crazier, but so far that is the best chess piece. Anyways, back to it. Eventually, reducing the cost of skills is just really nice. It increases maximum life as well, so this is all just damage to us. This is something to also think about, is just more regen here and increased armor or maximum life. I would go for the regen though, and then it increases, you know, armor, life, maximum regen, which is decent. Then we're going down. What I did is went through here for the large cluster jewel. You don't have to. Avatar fire is decent, but not good after a while. Like if I turn it on, I'll lose damage. So it's better just to keep it off, honestly. But we're going down. More life regen. This is pretty great. This is actually a lot of life regen, and this is just more resistance, fire, life, whatever. We're going down through this path specifically to save points to get blood magic. Now there are items that have blood magic on them, so that could be a way that you get it early game if you don't have enough skill points. Like I'm pretty sure if I look up real quick, oh my god, it muted, I'm so sorry, hold on, mute while in background. No, okay, so if I look up real quick, window capture, if we look up here, we can look up blood magic. Players have blood magic, blood magic, blood magic. Okay, so we're looking up anything that has blood magic, which is the shield, which is a headpiece, and you can get it at level 17 versus the what was it? It was the pain anointment piece that we have, which is level 67. So the only thing is you possibly could be squishier, But if you have ways to increase your life or something like that, you could get blood magic early, and that is a way that you could be leveling up early. And spells have a chance to deal double damage, which I thought about if it's good, which technically it does sound really good for how this is working, but the big issue with that is if I show here, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So if I show here, we're getting the strength node. So that is 5% increased attributes, very important, and 40% strength, and 42 strength and 8% increase to strength. Very good, very awesome. And then specifically here, which is really good, 10% increased strength, so you could just have these two and leave it at that. But this is also 6% increased maximum life. So far, that is one of the very few strength in or life increases that are like more than 5, right? So you'd have this one, which is 5, 10, so it's usually 5 or 10, so this one is 6, so you get more out of this one. And then also you have life regen, but specifically 4% of life per second while on low life. And since we're on low life because of our auras, this is huge for us. And if I take this off to show you, oh, this is 50 regen life as well, very nice. But if I take off this 4%, then we dip down so low. So this is really good for us. Technically, you could anoint this and then completely avoid coming down here, but also you're missing utmost might and stuff, and you'd be saving 1, but also double damage with the thing. So it's kind of like, it depends on how you want to path things, because either way, you're coming through here, right? So you could be just taking your points and coming down here and bridging to here and getting these and getting the strength and not having blood magic. And whatever pathway or points, or if you don't have large clusters, you could, for instance, instead come and get pain anointment to you know, go around that one headpiece, but you'd get less life technically because of the energy shield. But you'd come through here, get pain anointment, and then you can come down to get speed, cast whatever, there's alternate ways, and then get cast speed or more area effect, consuming bodies, and having another way to another cluster node. So there are multiple ways that this could possibly be done. I haven't precisely figured out the best way, to be honest, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to this, and this is 1, yeah. So it's, you're spending more points, technically you're getting benefits, but it's dependent on how you want to do it, you know what I mean? So you kind of do with what, get with what you got, but this is what works for me. And large cluster, as I spoke, and that's pretty much it for the path tree at level 84. With more points, I would invest it into more life, so even if we don't have, you know, armor, but since this is just 4 maximum life, 8 maximum life, this is also 4, or we could do maximum life and regen. So if we do that, first of all, we got to get back our 50. So if we invest 5, you can see that our health and life go up significantly now because we're stacking so much. And now we're going to get more strength and then more life regen. So now we're regenning a lot, which I think that that is very much worth it for those points. You could do this as well. This is an option for me or you, or some jewels would be, which would be nice. Increasing resistances. I'm seeing where I could distribute my points, because casting at 0.22 is still really fast in my opinion, and I can always make up that casting speed with other means like onslaught, right? Onslaught completely mitigates the slow, or what would feel like slow casting to us, because once we're bouncing back and forth, it kind of just becomes a blur, honestly. I could do fire and damage because that's 14 and increases our attributes and stats, but for now I think I will just also counting at low life at 55 is an option, but only if, you know, you found a way to make things more efficiently. Increasing life when there's no life modifiers on on the body armor. Technically gaining life from entity killed is a life modifier, which I thought, you know, somehow it wasn't going to count, but that's fine. The one point that I would put here, I don't have ways to get a 1 point skill gem, which is suck. I could do 5% life or just 10% more elemental damage. So I could probably skip over this in the video when I'm figuring this out. Actually, what I could do, so this is probably going to be a bad idea, but minus 6%, we go back down, we go down in damage, but I'm doing that to 1, get this, so we go up. That should be up in damage for a decent bit. I don't know. I could see it drops from 6 to 3, and then if we add 5, okay. What I could do instead of getting a gem slot, because I got really lucky with finding gems, so that is why I'm having this issue. I could increase the spell damage more without having as much life, which is an option that I could do, and I'm probably gonna do that, to be honest. Even though life is our bread and butter, but those are excess points is what I would call them. So there's that. I don't know why suddenly I have way more damage than I remember seeing. Something happened. I don't know, but oh no, I was looking at the wrong number. So going here, increase to 6, we have a little bit more life. We get this here, and I have 40% spell damage while dual wielding, which we're dual wielding wands. That counts. Cast speed, and then cast speed. So boom. There are other gems that I could probably find that are better, but we're back down to 0.21 cast speed, which is very good. So that is things that you would do with your skill tree to figure out what would be better than the other. Very long video, but through Path of Building, which if I window capture into Path of Building here, oh yeah, it's the bar, whatever. Here, let me scale, transform, fit to screen. That is not it. Whatever, you're gonna deal with having the Windows bar cut off at the bottom there, because whatever, I don't think it really matters. So in Path of Building, we see all this here, and I will do the changes that I just did, which is subtracting this 1, taking away these 3, adding these 2, nope, wrong ones, adding these 2, and putting, what is it, these 2. So now we're back to 84, and items here was the one that has spell damage and dual wielding, yes, which Hypnotic Solace is Hypnotic Solace unused. Okay, I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't accidentally putting it somewhere. So that, we save that tree. The tree's in here, the equipment is in. As you can see, we're doing a good bit of damage. We're fast with the configurations that we mana burn stacks. I don't know what that is. Are we always on low life? We're always on low life pretty much. I did the Soul of the Brine King. These are up to you. I found that these work best for me because of the stun. And then Soul of Ugul for reduced reflect damage. So if we do get those modifiers, we can, you know, mitigate it. And then Kill All for the extra passive point, obviously. And the rest of it is kind of whatever. I'm not good at this side of things. I'm just good at making the number look bigger and making the best decision out of it. But as you can see from the numbers here, it's decent. It's probably not the best that other people in this league have come up with, but it is what it is. So the skills that I have input are the body swap, the vitality with arrogance, the flammability. I had anger, taking off anger, because that turned out to not be as good. Because as you can see, the resistances outweigh anger, because it's pure damage at that point. So haste, just good, since we can fit it in there. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I could export this, removing unused stuff, but exporting this and you know, setting up a page. And when I'm done with that, I will just be going through. This is a pretty simple, it's simple. It is a thing that is fun. I find this fun. This build specifically, other people that I saw it earlier through like Reddit or whatever the hell, they were asking how I would do in maps. And yes, I just started getting into the yellows, but it's decent as long as you're aware of the effects. I realize you can't see what I'm doing, but I just started getting into the yellows, but because what I was doing is getting through the vault pass, so I'm doing it one at a time, but I haven't really had much issue unless it was either spell reflect or, you know, just shit on the ground that completely fucks me. So yeah, and with currency, you start to find currency pretty easy. You'll start to learn what sells good and what doesn't sell good, and a lot of the stuff like the uniques and items are honestly, they end up being a lot cheaper than you would think. So this build isn't too expensive, but it can get up there when you're trying to get the best in slot items, which is why when I originally was doing this, before I switched over to full energy shield, pretty much, I was doing armor and adding life and regen from the armor to get, you know, avoiding being hit, avoiding taking damage. And then I was like, oh my god, the life sucks, like why is this happening? It feels terrible now. And then I switched over to energy shield, and then boom, 7.5 life, 7.5k life. And I'm pretty sure this could be better. I don't know PoE all that well, or POE1 all that well, so if there's like hidden stuff that I could be doing, I do not know. Another player could see this and optimize it more, and if you leave a comment saying, hey, here's my path of building to my version of your Bog Witch Bodyswap build, and it could be leagues better, and then I will pin it and say, hey, someone optimized it, this is the better version, but the concept is still the same, then there'd be that. Also to show outside of the league, I think this is possible outside of the league, but it would be tricky, right? So
let's see what we can do.
Oh, that's way expensive. I would rather just use orbs of regrets. Three. Yeah, that's fine. The amount of orbs I've spent on this is insane. So mainly we're looking at damage, and I could look at it in Path of Builder, but the thing with that is sometimes the Path of Builder does not calculate correctly, I've found. So some things are better than others, which I could reread this, but Path of Builder, and I will show you, says that this is the most insane damage we could be having, which I will show in Path of Builder real quick. So if we go, we scroll in, we find the node, we hover over it, and it says this adds 91k damage. I'm not sure how. I don't understand. So, which skills that have dealt a critical strike in the past 8 seconds deal 40% more elemental damage with hits and ailments. That's probably what it's doing. Your crit strikes do not deal extra damage. Ailments never count as critical strikes. So, but the thing is, I think it's not considering our critical strike chance into the equation. But if we do get up our critical strike chance, like that could potentially be an option if we get pieces of equipment that boost our critical strike chance, and then we could whatever, because if we add it, that's a ton of damage, but when we critically strike, right? So that is potentially something that could be added. That is what Path of Builder says. I don't think it's true, but it miscalculates stuff like that, right? But yeah, as a default, our critical strike chance is 1.8, and even without this, it's 9. So I don't know how much it scales up, but that is something to consider, because we're getting 40 more spell damage from specifically this gem, and then this is 40 more. Yeah, so it does the same fucking thing. So if there's a way that you could get this with while critically striking, then yeah, I guess technically it would be good, but as of right now, I don't see a point, and Path of Building kind of fucks up. Anyways, what I was doing is I was showing outside of a league, we're not counting these right now, but outside of a league, if we take away all energy shield and we go to energy shield and remove life from the equation, we have 7596 life. I'm looking at this number here, so 7596 down to, that's not bad, 5000 life, so with 1000 regen. So technically outside of league, this could potentially work, because we have now 2000 energy shield with the equipment and stuff. So now potentially we could look at, hey, maybe now that we're at endgame and we have a shit ton of energy shield, instead of adding it to our damage, we could use it as a, like, you know, extra life bar. But then again, that's defeats the purpose, right? We could scale up energy shield potentially. There's stuff that we could probably find that scales it up, but I found this to just be, you know, everything works with this one thing, but outside of a league. So in 3 point whatever the next after the mutant league currently that is going on, I'm going to still build Bog Witch, or not Bog Witch. I'm going to build Bodyswap, or I'm calling it Infernal Translocation. I'm going to build this again outside of league, but honestly, I'll probably end up choosing the Scion just because it looks like a better start option for where we're going. It'll be a little bit all over the place, but the fact that we have a lot of core cast speed and damage here, and then quicker access to Iron Will is very good. Like, I started building Scion in this league, but her tree looked really weird, and I'll show in Path of Builder in a second, but applying this again, we go up a lot. But it could also, there could be other things that scale with energy shield. So I don't know. I'm just going off of what I found, that Bog Witch is just working. But outside of the league, technically Bog Witch, technically this could still work, potentially. But apparently compared to Flicker Strike, this is like not good, but whatever. So specifically in this league, the Scion apparently goes one way, which you could try, but it's also like you would have to invest. I don't know. This is weird because I don't know if she, like, because this is 1, 2. That's your first trial. 3, 4. Your second. 5, 6, 7, 8. So adrenaline for 5 seconds. Scourge conflicts. I don't know. This could be cannot inflict elemental ailments modifiers. Okay, so this could be potentially good. It could not. I don't know. Possibly good. Probably better. But with how it's working, Bog Witch is better. Outside of the league, I'd probably choose Scion though, depending on how the other, you know, ascendancies look. But yeah. So that is my build. I will post it after editing this video down because it is now an hour of recording because I yap just like the first one I did. But I will have this uploaded. After editing this and after uploading this video, I will probably be streaming right after. So twitch.tv/JohnBauer. I will put a link in my description. YouTube's probably going to say you can't do links because you're not, we need to see a photo of your ID, bullshit, whatever. But I will be streaming either way after uploading this. I stream just chilling, playing whatever games. I'm a variety streamer, but I tend to like Path of Exile more. So either way, this works. This could potentially work pretty decently. Depends on what you do. It's just basically get your life up as high as possible, using energy shield from Bog Witch to your benefit. But outside of the league, it's probably better to then do stuff like Ivory Tower, but this is still very good for a general chest piece when it comes to energy shield. And it has evasion, which whatever, I'm yapping, but I don't know how to say goodbye. That is the main thing. We could also convert all evasion to armor. Dexterity provides no bonus to evasion since we're stacking. Yeah, we could potentially do that. Also with the nodes, +1 damage per 5. So leveling up, this is, I'm going to quickly touch on this. While leveling up, or if you have shit cluster nodes, like me, you could, depending on how you path, you could get the intelligence path and then add this one to have the 1 increased damage per 5 of your lowest stat, which would be dexterity. But then that would potentially unlock, or I sold it. There's this weird helmet that did 3 element, that like strength does this if it's higher than intelligence, life does this if it's higher than dex, or something like that. So there's that potential. Other uniques that I was looking at are boots, real quick. So these were just really fun to use. Level 12, it gives you movement speed, it gives you strength, and it gives you an AoE burst, and it gives you 5 increased damage per 20 strength. These are pretty nice. So there's also these, which are armor and energy shield, but that was pretty much it. That was it, increased to 17% energy shield, or 17% strength. That was when the original idea was to use the, instead of 1%, it's 3%, which Path of Building says, hey, that works, but when testing it in actuality in the game, that does not work. Or maybe something I did screwed it up. Another pair of boots that I was looking at or trying, yes. So there's a headpiece that does this, which I will show. This applies an additional curse. So if you don't care about casting faster with haste, you could add on the other elemental curse and then use this or another way to cast an additional curse. So that could be more added damage. That's probably honestly better than casting faster, but I like to go fast because it's fun. Also this, funny enough, this works. So more movement speed, evasion per whatever. You don't get any evasion. You're not getting anything from this really, but you have onslaught while on low mana. I'll put this on in this to show stat differences, right? So if we put this on, we have 0 out of 0 mana. We have 230 movement speed, or 230 cast speed. We now have 250. We are considered to always be on low mana. There's probably stuff that takes advantage of that, but as of right now, I'm unaware of it, or I'm too stupid to look it up. But that is something to consider with the boots. You will always be on onslaught, so that would save you from a potion slot. But that would also take away from getting more life and regen, because boots can have life and regen, which actually I might go with this, because constantly being onslaught honestly would be nice. Can you stack onslaught? The potion is out.
Hello, hello, hello.
Can't I refill this? No, there's no well. There's nothing to refill. I don't know how to do it. Okay, whatever. Or actually, no, this is something I should honestly try. So here, get out, potions up, 250. No, onslaught does not stack. So that, I might look into other things that have onslaught though. So that is something to consider, but technically we were always on low life. So with the hoof boots, these are just fun because they leave hoof prints, and they give more fire damage. Technically we do more damage. So that is also something to consider as an alternative, but we're also not getting a lot of life regen. But actually, since we optimized our tree, this is something that I'm yapping about my own, but since we optimized it more to have more life regen on top of, you know, all this stuff, technically we probably could push life regen to be even more, but c'est la vie, as some would say. That is something that it could be an option. So for me, since I have a ton of life regen and a ton of life, these are options that I could alternate to. So this increases and movement speed, but this is the only benefit, is the strength. So this, we have 700 strength, not as much life loss, damage loss. So I would say the biggest benefit would probably be these hoof boots. Since I already have a potion of onslaught, these potentially give the best because it's scaling with fire, but that's tiny bit of damage compared to losing life regen for a tiny bit of damage. But we can see other boots, you know, we can check out other unique boots. I'm not going to do that right now, but those are options. So helmet, this originally was the helmet that I was using, which it gave pretty decent energy shield, +1 to socketed curses, and curse skills have 30% increased skill duration, and it was basically for the level of socketed curses is what I was using it before. But with this one being a level 17 item, honestly I would say take this early game to just do double damage, have blood magic. I honestly might take this for the fact that it is just 20% chance to deal double damage, but we're casting so often that double damage, I don't know if I have this in Path of Building. Hold on, let me double check. This is yapping. If you saw my other video, it was mostly me like just yapping about Iron Mask double damage. No, okay, so it's not as good, but it does just drop down by a tiny bit, tiny bit being 30k. This is calculating 30k. So when in combat, effective DPS, search double, honest damage, highest damage type override. Nope. PvP, no. I don't know how to calculate the double damage. Assassin's Mark, despair player caused by, do you have onslaught? Oh, we're considered to always have onslaught. well, we're considered to have onslaught right now because the potions are being calculated into this. So can I just double damage, or what does it say? Chance to deal double damage. Can I just figure damage? No. 2 times 2 damage. No. Well, either way, so apparently from the mask, when it does proc, we could be doing 400 DPS or on average hit of 80,000 DPS, but the chance of that happening are very slim with the mask, so it's kind of up to you. Either way, early levels, it would be great. Later levels, probably not as good. There might be a better helmet, but who knows. Having a energy shield helmet is good for life, but after a while, the Crown of Thorns kind of just takes the cake for me. But either way, that is it. That is the build. That is the idea. It can go probably multiple different ways for different people, but that is the concept. Again, like my other build, that is the concept. That's what I'm going for. So yeah, tell me what you think about it. If I did good, if there's a way to make it more optimized or better, please let me know, because I am new to Path of Exile 1. I like the season, and I would like to see how far this body swap can go, specifically on a spellcaster point, because I like wands. I think dual wielding wands is probably better, but there's stuff that we could be doing, like what is it, an axe? Yeah, this counts as dual wielding, but it's also a two-handed axe. I do not know if this actually counts as both at once. I haven't looked into it, but that is something potentially to think about, to test, because I don't know how to properly figure out how to test this. You know what I mean? I probably could just look online to see, but for right now, I'm not going to do that. Or I could do it and just cut it out of the video. I'll probably do that. Okay, so this build may be completely different after posting this video. Technically, Wings of Entropy count as both, and since it is a melee attack, that completely opens up the options of stuff, but we're still using body swap as our attack, which is a spell. But when it comes to stuff like gems, technically this could work, so, but this would not help us with spell damage at all. Increase physical damage, fire damage in main hand, chaos damage in offhand, change the block spell, count as dual wielding. So this is nice, but probably only for something like a flicker version of this, which, gonna be honest, everybody says that flicker is way better, or why not use both? Well, I don't want to. The whole point is to hold down right mouse click. That's it. That's it. Anyways, I'm gonna finish this recording, edit it down, post the video, and probably stream right after for a bit. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm going to post more videos sporadically here and there. Let me know what you thought, if there's improvements. I keep saying that over and over again. I don't know how to say goodbye.